Hello, and welcome to the Shea Hates Everything podcast, where two brothers argue about video games and other shit that matters. My name is Shea, and today I hate chewing pills.
And my name's Kyle, and today I hate mandatory overtime.
Both of these things tie into the fact that this episode is a day late in posting.
And $1 short.
Short, like an hour, maybe 2 hours short on what we normally record for. We talked about this last episode, but we were originally going to record this a week early because during the week of Thanksgiving, I was going to be traveling to see Kyle and a bunch of family, and so we weren't going to have time. I got sick again that week, and we weren't able to get it in, and Kyle also had a ton of work stuff where he was working like 14 days in a row. And
yeah, it ended up being a lot more than that, but yeah.
So, at the time, it was like 14 days in a row.
Yeah, I am proud to announce, though, that as of 2.5 hours now, prior to the recording of this podcast episode, my proposal has been submitted, and my work on that proposal is done. And I did, just like, to make myself feel better / worse, I went back and looked at all the overtime hours I clocked since Veterans Day, because I was supposed to get Veterans Day off, but I actually worked 7 hours that day. So between Veterans Day and now, 3 weeks to the day, I worked 85 hours of overtime.
That's great.
That's more than 2 weeks of normal work time on top of my normal work time.
Grind culture, baby. Grind culture.
And it was mandatory because I'm the proposal manager and I got to make sure that shit gets done. And also, I'm salaried, so I don't actually get overtime. So that's pretty cool.
But it's over now.
It's over now. It's so
over
excited.
now.
And you're no longer sick.
Yes. Well, I'm still congested, but I'll live. I'm feeling fine. It's just an annoyance at this point. It's been like a month and a half. This is just my life now. Occasionally during the day, I can't breathe. It's, happens when you get older, I guess.
You come closer to dying every day.
Yep. Every day. But yes, this episode's coming in hot. We're recording this Monday night.
Steamy.
And I'm also going to be editing Monday night and then publishing so that it's live early Tuesday morning. So apologies for hitting your subscription box a day late. But hey, podcast is better than no podcast. As I mentioned, it's on the shorter side. We have sort of a condensed, call it a mini episode that we're going to run through today. Some quick catch up. We're also going to be doing a walkthrough of all the game awards. So that's on December 12th. So all the nominees are live. You can go vote for everything that you care about or don't care about. We're going to run through the noms, give some opinions on, hey, maybe from this list, what should win? And then also from these lists, what's gonna win?
Right.
Because rarely is it what should win.
And also,
oftentimes what should win isn't even nominated.
Correct, yes. And also only the categories that you and I have experience to speak on. Like, so none of the esports categories.
You don't want to talk about esports gamer of the year?
I don't want to talk about content creator of the year, because I looked at that list. I don't know who the fuck any of those people are. Because I'm still watching my elder millennial YouTubers.
Yes, exactly. I spend a lot of time on gaming YouTube, and I literally have never heard of anyone on that list.
Nope.
Because we are in our 30s.
Turning 30.
Yeah, we're
turning
still
30.
We still have a couple emails to talk through, and then we're going to cover the December game releases as always, and our December Game Club reveal at the end if you want to play along with us this month. As a quick reminder, if you want to enjoy all of the content that we have to offer, on December 16th, Monday, will be our Games That Suck from 2024. So this will be our worst games of the year podcast.
Nastiest,
January
stinkiest,
1st,
sweatiest games.
Yes, this absolute stinkiest, the cheesiest games. On January 6th, which is a bad date to launch a podcast, but it's the first Monday, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
On that date, we will have our gaming superlatives episode. So our favorite characters of the year, favorite whatever, and also some jokey joke categories. And then we're going to have a bunch of stuff to catch up on, games and stuff. I have a very busy month in December. I have approximately 9 games I'm trying to play in the next month, which is not going to happen, but that's what I'm going to try to do. And then on January 20th will be our Game of the Year podcast, like our dedicated games that don't suck, coming up with the top 5 from 2024, and then back to regularly scheduled programming in February with an extra special podcast episode in February, which we will reveal fully when we do the games that don't suck for 2024 episode in January. So that's the upcoming calendar of content. We also, because this is a short episode, last episode we promised that we were going to be doing a tier list. We're not doing that here because I'm going to go ahead and announce it here, we'll talk about it. We decided of all the ideas that we had that people recommended, the most fun one for us to start on would be a tier list ranking of the original 151 Pokemon.
Yeah. The best 151 Pokemon.
Definitely correct. That was always going to be a colossal undertaking. And like, if we spend a minute per Pokemon, that's an hour. That's 2.5 hours of podcast just
it's
by
gonna
itself.
Be chunky. Yeah.
So it's going to, like, it makes more sense to break that up and do its own thing. We talked about doing a special dedicated episode of the podcast just for that, which we will do. We will publish it as an audio format. However, because it's 151 Pokemon, it's a huge mammoth conversation. It makes more sense to do it on video, so we're going to do it on video. You're going to have to look at our faces. It's going to be posted on the Shea Hates Everything YouTube channel, which I will always link. All these episodes, you can go listen to them on YouTube right now. Not very many people do that, but you can do that. This video will be best enjoyed on the YouTube channel. Yeah. See how there's some like cross promotion there? You go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Because this will, if this does well, if people enjoy this, we'll probably do more. Yeah. We've got a million other ideas. Kyle already came up with a really good idea that we were going to do in our like gaming superlatives that doesn't make sense to do just in an audio format, which now I really want to do it as a video. So we'll probably do that one too. But yeah, lots of content coming up over the next 2 months for the Shea Hates Everything podcast. But the content that's coming up like right now on this episode are video games.
Oh.
Yeah. So the first thing that we need to talk about is our November Game Club game, which was Dragon Age Origins.
Mm-hmm.
And this discussion is probably going to be short because Kyle didn't play Dragon Age Origins.
Actually, Shea, I found a few hours in which to play Dragon Age Origins.
Really?
I did. I played about 3.5 hours.
Because, spoiler alert, Kyle he went ahead and started Dragon Age Veilguard, which we will talk about in the next episode. We're not going to talk about it in this episode because... Also, spoiler alert, I just started playing it today. I'm like an hour and a half in. So I was like, let's just wait. We'll talk about it in January once we're both into it.
Yep.
But Kyle had started Veilguard, and I put it like 30 hours into Dragon Age Origins this month.
Nice.
So I was like pretty annoyed that Kyle just skipped it and was moving on.
No. So I played a few hours of Origins first, and then I was like, you know what? I love this, but I also need to play Veilguard so I can talk about it on like the future podcasts. And I also like I was so in such a bad headspace. I was like, I need to just play something new. So but yeah, so I played a few hours of Origins. I have beaten it before, like when it originally came out, and I have since played a couple like third of the way through, quarter of the way through playthroughs with like different character classes and stuff. I really like it.
Tell me about your character. Tell me what this go around was all about.
Yeah, I did a mage, so I got the mage college start, where I guess spoilers, like you go through like this demon. So mages are like in this universe of Dragon Age, mages are controlled because they have the propensity to be like possessed by demons and like go on rampages or become blood mages, which is forbidden magic. Yeah. And so you undergo this trial where you have to face a demon and kind of like rebuff its advances or whatever and not come out, possessed. And some people don't, and some people are killed, but it's a thing that mages are forced into going through as part of their like coming of age thing. It's not a thing that you
to
can
become
avoid.
part of the chantry.
Yes, part of the chantry. So obviously, like I played that part. There's a bunch of like fun character stuff that happens. There's like this really annoying friend of yours who's like a total dweeb and like complete sad sap loser guy who, surprise, surprise, turns out to be a blood mage and was lying to people. But he really did it because he was afraid that they were going to kill him because he didn't think he'd be able to pass his like exam or whatever. And so it's just like he kind of did it as a survival mechanism. And so there are some moral and ethical quandaries around that stuff. But then you end up as part of the Grey Wardens, and that's where it kind of joins the main path that any character class or race start would have. And then so I played a couple hours from that point on as well. I got to see Morrigan in the swamp the first time, and Morrigan's mom, and do some of that stuff. Yeah,
Morrigan.
I forgot that it was Claudia Black who voices Morrigan.
Yeah,
she has such an awesome, iconic voice. But yeah, Morrigan's super hot. I also like oh God, what is his name? Is it the other
Alistair?
Alistair, yes.
Yes.
I
he's
love
the
Alistair.
sarcastic.
Yeah,
he's very funny.
Very quippy, very funny. And I feel like a character like that, I'm surprised I didn't find him annoying immediately. Just the way that like that would have aged. Just that's the thing that stood out to me is the writing is like still holds up and it's so good.
What I was gonna say. Like that was the number one takeaway for me is just how strong the writing is in this game, and coming off of replaying Knights of the Old Republic, which came out 8-ish years before Dragon Age did,
right? And
seeing a lot of really good writing in Knights of the Old Republic, but the delivery was what hurt it, because just the voice, clearly the audio direction was very poor in that game. It was very rushed. This was early on. There wasn't ever a ton of spoken dialogue in games up to that point. And so it really suffered because of that. But seeing in Dragon Age Origins where they let moments breathe more, they let the characters have more definable personality traits, man, the characters and the writing are so freaking good and totally hold up, 20 years after the game came out.
100%. I also think the combat still really holds up because it's not as archaic as like the KOTOR games with the dice rolls.
True.
And it's not like a lot of the stuff isn't kind of obfuscated. They smooth out a lot of that experience with the combat.
It is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Though.
It's kind of hard,
challenging.
Though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's very challenging. I mean, I've
surprised.
died a dozen times probably. And it's always very frustrating because it's one of those where just like it resets to your last save. So you better hope it auto-saved at some point. Otherwise, you're losing half an hour, which has happened multiple times.
But you really have to use your head and think about weaknesses and vulnerabilities and set stuff up appropriately and really be on top of your gear and upgrades and all that stuff too. Which I kind of like. I appreciate that. It was even just like a default setting kind of a thing. The difficulty challenge is kind of high, which I appreciated. I wouldn't want to play through the whole game because like a system like that, it's rewarding, but it also doesn't respect your time. And like I just didn't have a lot of time to play it, and I have other games that I want to play. But like, it was cool to see that experience hold up in that way, and like see a game that's not holding players' hands all that much. Like they're giving you all the tools you need to succeed, but not laying it out for you flatly, like a lot of games do now.
I agree. Yeah, I made the mistake of choosing a warrior, and I went down the sword and shield path immediately, and I really regret it because it's just a pretty boring play style, to control your character. Because it's the sword and shield, it's a lot of defensive abilities, so you're kind of the tank
pulling
character
aggro.
that just takes a bunch of punishment while the other characters are doing all the fun stuff. So that I really regret, but I am, like I said, really enjoying the writing and the story. I'm pretty deep. I'm pretty close to the big, I think if my memory serves, it's the big like second act penultimate thing. So I've recruited, I visited like my uncle guy, and that whole thing goes down with the possessed child. I recruited the elves and did all of the side missions over there. I recruited the chantry and did all their side missions, which is such a cool quest. There's a whole sequence where you go into the Fade and you're all by yourself and you have like these different morph powers, which honestly that section drags a little bit, but it's a very cool idea where you have to morph into a mouse or like a fire guy or this big like rock ogre or this like spectral wizard to kind kind of solve puzzles, mostly just to like, you need to transform into one in order to interact with a certain thing. But it also leverages heavily a lot of conversation and choices that you make into how you're able to rescue your other squad members, etc. And then I made it to the dwarven area, which is very fun because it's a lot of politics there, and so there's a lot of like cool dialogue stuff happening. So I'm finishing that section, and then after that, you go and confront the big traitorous king. And then I think after that is when the actual dark spawn stuff really comes to a head. So I'm probably around 2/3 through the game.
Okay.
I intend to see it through. It will have to wait until like February probably, because I just have too much other stuff that I'm trying to play.
That's the tough thing. It's just such a long game. But yeah, I'm like super glad that we picked it, because also I wanted a little bit of I wanted to be able to revisit the franchise before playing Veilguard and kind of like remember, kind of respark my synapses on why I loved that first game so much. And frankly, I really liked the second one as well, despite its flaws.
Same.
I did not play Inquisition. You did, correct? Did you beat Inquisition?
Yes, I put like 80 hours into it. I really enjoyed it. I think it has a lot of flaws, but I had a great time with it. I think a lot of its like deeper systems are super interesting, and how you manage your party, and like the sort of, it's like a light town building kind of element that they've got going there. The story, I think, isn't as strong as the first game in particular, but it is very good.
I'm curious if you remember or not, because like a big thing that I really like about, like visually, that I like about Dragon Age Origins and 2 is all the blood, like that cakes your character and stuff. Did they keep that in Inquisition?
As far as I remember, it's not as like on the nose and ridiculous as it is in Origins and Dragon Age 2, but I'm pretty sure your characters do get pretty bloody.
Okay, because it's not that way in Veilguard.
I am very much missing that in Veilguard.
Yes.
We will talk deeply about Veilguard. I'll say after an hour and a half, like the combat I think is pretty fun.
Yeah.
I'm playing a mage, and I'm finding that to be pretty fun. Pretty much everything else I am really not enjoying. So we'll have to talk more, because
Interesting.
I fully intend on spending a bunch of time with it, either however I come down on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, Dragon Age Origins, it totally hit the spot for me. I was looking for an RPG like this, and I knew if I went back to KOTOR 2, it would feel too samey, having just played KOTOR 1. So this was the perfect thing to kind of sit in the middle. I am going to need to take a break from BioWare, I think, after Veilguard and coming back and finishing this. So it might be a while before I get back to KOTOR 2. But I will say every game that I have played from BioWare, like KOTOR, Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age Veilguard, playing all of them just makes me want to replay Mass Effect.
Oh, for sure. I will say, like, I know Baldur's Gate 3 drew in a lot of new people to those kinds of games. And I would say, like, if you enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3, like, Dragon Age Origins is on Game Pass. It's definitely, like, archaic proto-version of Baldur's Gate 3. Like, it's not as sophisticated, the world is not as reactive, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the writing is just as strong. Even, like, the characters are, I think, more interesting than the characters in Baldur's Gate 3.
Because they're kind of likable.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you want to travel with those people, not just, like, be around them for the crazy, memey stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And it goes darker places too, and has levity, and I think there's just a lot of great stuff to
and
see.
If you like the rampant racism coming from Shadowheart, the hottie, you're gonna love Morrigan.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
So yeah, Dragon Age Origins, still a very good video game.
Totally.
Quickly, a couple other series that we want to mention, kind of like the two biggest series in all of video games, Pokemon and Sonic. So I haven't checked in on Pokemon in a while. I went ahead and finished Fire Red and, did the Elite Four, and I ended up with, I had forgotten in Fire Red and Leaf Green that they added like the extra islands and like a bunch of additional post-game stuff where you can start to get the Johto Pokemon in there also. And I didn't want to do that. Like, I started it and I was like, no, I don't want to do this because it's super tedious. And you have to do all that shit in order to get Mewtwo. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to be done here. So I ended with like 105-ish, maybe 110 total Pokemon in my Pokédex, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, that might be the most I've ever gotten, because it's just about everyone you can get short of trading.
Okay.
And like exclusive, evolutions and stuff.
Sure.
Every Pokemon I caught, I evolved to their final evolution. So I spent a bunch of time doing that, which was very fun.
There's probably a few in the Safari Zone you didn't get, right? Like Genghis Khan, and did you get Genghis Khan?
Yes.
Nice, bro.
I got Genghis. That's what I'm saying. I got pretty much. I don't know of any Pokemon that I could get that I did not get. So, like, I did get Mewtwo. There are a couple of ones that you can only get on the islands, in the later islands. And then there are all of the, like, version-specific exclusive ones. Those are the only Pokemon I did not catch.
Nice.
Like, I literally got everybody else. But yeah, I ended up with I had a Blastoise, Kadabra, because annoyingly, you have to trade to get Alakazam. And obviously, I'm not going to do that when I'm emulating. Jolteon, Graveler, same problem. Shit, I don't remember my fifth guy. And then I originally had a Farfetch'd, the guy that you trade for.
Yeah.
But he was just kind of like my cut sort of HM spam dude. And he also had Fly. And eventually it got to a point where he just wasn't as useful. So I swapped him out for Articuno for the Elite Four, because Ice type is like super strong against Lance, the Dragon Lord. Shit, and I don't remember the other guy. Oh, Arcanine was my fire type, because I wanted to do something a little different. I normally go with Magmar, but that was my championship roster. I'm the Pokemon League champ.
Spoilers,
the only one in the whole world.
Spoilers for the 151 tier list. Magmar's going to be pretty fucking high up on that list, brother.
Magmar rules. Yeah, if you want to see the full list of what it's going to turn out like, you can head to SheaIt'sEverything.com, and I have a personal ranking, a scientific ranking of the original 151 Pokemon it has mathematical scores for like the Pokemon cards, the usage in the television show, the actual design of the character, an X factor, coolness factor. I went hard ranking those Pokemon, which was very fun.
Dude, our list, cool. God.
Hey, your words, not mine, bro. You know what I mean? So I'll take the comment. I'm not gonna argue with you. Yeah, it's a very cool guy thing to do, is what I did. Yes. Spending like 100 hours doing math to like have a ranking for the book. And like the irony was like, it's math, right? But it's all subjective anyway.
Right, yeah.
This one gets a 4 out of 5 in the video game because I said so. That's math. That's what math is like. But anyway, so that was my Pokemon Fire Red journey. It was a very fun time. I immediately wanted to jump into the next Pokemon game, but I was going to play Sun and Moon, and then I found out that whatever I did in emulation wasn't working, and I didn't have a 3DS emulator, and so I couldn't play that game. And so I was like, hey, we just did Games That Don't Suck from 1999, 2000, or whenever the hell it was, and we talked about Pokemon Stadium. That's a fun game. I really like that game. Let me go play Pokemon Stadium. I got the ROM for that, and so I booted up Pokemon Stadium. And I played for like an hour, and I was like, this is very different than my memory. My memory of Pokemon Stadium is that it's basically just like you just fight against trainers and gym challenges, and there's no real story. There's no, like, you're not moving around the world, all that kind of stuff. It's just battles. But this game, I was like, there's a story. You play as this, like, guy who steals Pokemon, who breaks out, and you have a special Pokeball or a special thing that helps you steal other people's Pokemon. I was like, fuck, dude, we just talked about this game on Games That Don't Suck. If I totally misremembered Pokemon Stadium, that's not a good look for me. And so then I went and looked at my Steam Deck, and I was playing Pokemon Coliseum.
Yeah.
Which is a different video game.
Very different video game. Also
and
a different
bad
console.
Video game. Yes, also a different console. Pokemon Coliseum is terrible. I played another couple hours and I was like, fuck, this game is so shit.
Yeah,
I hate this game.
I did not like Coliseum.
So I stopped playing Pokemon Coliseum and I booted up Pokemon Platinum instead because I had that one on my Steam Deck.
Okay.
And I played for 6 hours and was kind of bored. I played Pokemon Brilliant Diamond like a year ago.
Yeah.
And they're still, even though the Platinum is sort of the combo game, they're still the same game, same Pokemon. I was just bored. So instead I went and booted up Pokemon Emerald. So I've been playing Pokemon Emerald. And I am having a very good time with that one. That game is tough. Like they increased the difficulty pretty significantly from Ruby and Sapphire. So I think like every trainer, at least the gym trainers, their Pokemon are like a level or two higher than in Ruby and Sapphire. And
that's cool.
Like I'm on the 3rd badge in Emerald and I'm stuck. Like I cannot beat him. I picked Trico to do something different. And then I've got my Beautifly, and then I have Wingull and my Kirlia, who just evolved from Ralts, who at this point is shit. He sucks.
Yeah.
His special attack is terrible. He only knows Confusion, and like I taught him Flash because I had to teach somebody Flash.
Yeah,
And
Ralts
I'm just
isn't
getting
really
my
good
ass
until
kicked.
it turns into a Gardevoir.
No, yeah. And so I'm just getting my ass kicked by this electric dude because my Pokemon aren't good. Like I have 2 flying guys and I have an Aaron or whatever, the guy who's rock and steel.
Yes.
He becomes really good when he evolves, but at his first evolution, he's also weak.
Pretty weak, yeah.
So I'm just getting my ass kicked. So I went and
You gotta
caught
get a Makuhita.
Makuhita.
Yeah,
That's exactly
brother.
it. So
Makuhita
I got a
solves
Makuhita
all your
and
problems.
I have to do experience share because he's like level 10.
Right.
And all my guys are level 24. So because he has a Magneton.
Can you catch a Sableye in Emeralds?
I do have a Sableye also. I've been catching everybody I can. Yeah, but it's just like I don't like having to raise guys that I don't want to use long term.
I think that's
just annoying.
I think that's really interesting.
Like having to have a different
dynamic
roster every time. Yeah, I get that. It just creates even more grinding.
Well, yeah, for sure. But that's kind of why I play Pokemon.
Yes, you're not wrong. But I play in 15-minute bursts, and so that's it's been working fine. It's no big deal. I am having a really good time. It's just like I failed like 4 times against that gym leader and was finally like, fuck it, I'm getting Makuhita. It's over. Yeah, Sorry, Wingull, you're useless.
Lieutenant Surge, it's over for you, bro.
Exactly. I was like, it's his Magneton that kicks my ass because he's electric and steel. So he's weak. He's weak to fighting, ground, and fire. And there are no fire Pokemon in this game up to this point.
Dude.
Unless you choose the fire starter, but otherwise there are no fire Pokemon.
Yeah, dude.
So my Aaron has Rock Smash, which is a weak ass fighting move, and that's it. I have nothing that can do anything. So I would sacrifice my Wingull. I would load him in, cross my fingers that he would that he would use Supersonic, that it would work, and then I can swap out to someone else because my tactic against really hard guys has been using my Beautifly, using Poison Sting or Stun Spore, but I can't poison him because he's steel, and the Stun Spore doesn't really work because he's already electric and he paralyzes all my guys. Anyway, I was really frustrated today, okay? Because I hit the end of my rope and I finally said, fuck it. I'm going to level up Makuhita and then kick this fucker's ass, all right? So that's where I am.
I want to say, God, so you fight that. Oh, man, someone gives you Rock Tomb.
I have Rock Tomb. My Aaron has Rock Tomb.
Oh,
but
okay.
it's a rock move. It's not.
Oh, it's ground. Right, you need ground.
Yeah, he's strong against rock type.
Right. Because steel. Yeah.
Or literally and like part of what makes this game hard is the Pokemon suck. Like their moves are bad. So I have a Grovel now. He evolved from Trico. He's like level 24. I taught him Cut and I taught him Bullet Seed. Otherwise, his only offensive moves are Pound and Absorb. Those are and he learned Fury Cutter, which is a shit ass bug move. Like this is the starting Pokemon. He's supposed to be like the best guy you have, and his moves are terrible.
Yeah.
Even Cut is a shit move, and Bullet Seed's a shit move, but he needs something.
Yeah.
So anyway,
honestly,
that's Pokemon.
Bullet Seed though underrated. If you give them the item that like boosts the grass type moves, Bullet Seed's actually good because it's boosting every hit of the Bullet Seed.
Yes, but Grovel has a higher special attack than regular attack, and Bullet Seed is a regular attack move, not a special attack move. So I'm not doing like max power with the grass type. We need to move on from Pokemon. As much as I love talking about Pokemon.
Okay.
So let's talk about a way worse video game franchise because all you do is like agree to play shit ass games.
Dude, it's
You're
peer
playing
pressure.
a bunch of Sonic games now.
It's peer pressure, bro. Yeah, I'm playing all the 3D Sonic games. So I beat.
Are you going to do a tier list?
Yes.
Because they'll all be in D tier.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be one higher than D. And because I happen to know that the two best Sonic games are Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2 Battle, and I really thought Adventure 2 Battle was going to be like maybe a C, it was going to break through. I'm on the last like section of Adventure 2 Battle. That game's a D all fucking day long, dude. That game sucks. Fuck that game.
So how many Sonic games have you played thus far?
This is only my third one. I have so many that I have to play.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because you're playing the 3D
The 3D
Sonics.
Sonics. So
only the 3D ones.
Yeah, so I've beaten Sonic 3D Blast on the Genesis, Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast, and I'm almost done with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. These are the ones that I own. These are the ones that I still need to play in order. Sonic Heroes on the original Xbox, Shadow the Hedgehog on original Xbox, Sonic the Hedgehog on 360, Sonic and the Secret Rings on the Wii, and then actually this one might be better than a D. This one might actually be like a B or an A. Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood on DS. It's a turn-based fighting like Final Fantasy RPG.
Weird.
Yes. So that one might actually be good. I
doubt it.
I know. Sonic Unleashed on the Wii, Sonic and the Black Knight on the Wii, Sonic Colors on the Wii, Sonic Generations on the Xbox One, Sonic Lost World on the Wii U, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric on the Wii U, Sonic Forces on the Xbox One, Sonic Frontiers on the Xbox One, The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog on Steam, which is like it was like an April Fool's Day game that they released. It's like a point-and-click adventure game. Sonic Dream Team on Apple Arcade, and then Shadow Generations, which came out this year on Xbox One. And so here's the thing. The reason I'm doing these on like Xbox, Wii U, whatever Wii, is because also part of the deal that I have with my friend is that I have to play them on what he thinks would be the worst console to play it on or the funniest console to play it on, which is why I have to do Colors on the Wii. I'm doing Generations on the Xbox One, Forces on the Xbox One, because like also I don't want to own a Sonic game for a system that I really like, because I just don't want to sully the system. You don't want to have
it displayed.
Right. I don't want to have it on my shelf. So I'm getting it for like all the Xboxes and the Wiis and stuff is also part of it. Yeah.
I think because your buddy Cody's now playing through all the Batman games, which is his cross to bear.
Yeah.
A bunch of shit
There have been some really bad ones.
So I think the solution to this, because clearly self-policing is not a solution for the two of you. You are incapable of stopping yourselves from making bad choices. So I think and this is advice to Cody. Cody just got married. Congratulations. Both of you need to have some kids.
No.
Because if you have kids, you will have less time and less disposable income. And that's really the only solution that's possible here.
Okay, but here's the thing. If you have a kid in 2024, that kid's going to like Sonic, motherfucker. And so there's no escaping it.
I will say this. I would so much rather do almost anything with my kids than play a Sonic game. So that's worth something.
I will say, all credit to my friend. When I beat the first Sonic Adventure, it was such a horrible experience. I almost gave up. When I beat the first Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast, he found on like extremely on sale a Sonic Adventure statue, and mailed it to me. So now I have that on my shelf. So it's like, it's all coming up roses over here. It's really
totally.
It's a great time. But the only other thing I want to say about what I've been doing, because other stuff has to wait because it's like relevant for Game of the Year stuff. Sulfur, I talked about last episode how I was really enjoying it. It's that roguelike, sort of like with some meta progression, but it's like a roguelike where a dungeon crawler, where the art style's sort of Adventure Timey, but it's a much kind of darker theme. Really, really like it. I was complaining about the size of the inventory because like you didn't have enough inventory space to like have multiple builds ready so that when you die, you lose all your stuff and then don't have a build ready to go. Kind of have to build up from square one. They released an inventory update where you can find and or purchase new containers to like store stuff in the overworld. So they've fixed my biggest issue with it. And I have now beaten all the content that's in the game. I've gotten up to the last point, and I just had like a really good build that carried me through, and that was super fun. So Sulfur, if you were like reserving jumping in on it, I would actually recommend trying it out now that there's more solutions available for you to play with stuff. So
I will add that to my list to see if it has Steam Deck support.
Yeah, I don't know if it does. Yeah, check it out.
A lot of early access games do not, or at least they're like, might not be optimal experience.
Yeah,
it's typically fine. But
I will say there were a couple areas where I was running into some frame rate issues, and I think it's just because the levels were so long and like the enemy gibs on the floor after I destroyed them were getting like too numerous. There were just so many enemy bodies on the floor, and so I think there's some performance stuff they still need to patch in there, and so I don't know if that would affect Steam Deck as well. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Well, let's talk about the Game Awards.
Oh, yeah, we were going to do that.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense to start with the Game of the Year just because I think there's an interesting conversation to be had around this. So the way we'll do this, like we'll read what the nominees are. If you go to, it's like GameAwards.com, you can see all this stuff too.
And vote.
And then we could chat about really what we think. Yeah, you can also vote there. Really what we think of the nominees as it stands. So for Game of the Year, they have Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantatio. And as a quick side note, in the Google Doc, Shadow of the Erd Tree wants to autocorrect to Nerd Tree.
Hell yeah.
I am pro that. It's the only time in the history of the world where autocorrect has done something good.
I miss Clippy.
Shadow of the Nerd Tree. Got him. So that is a thing that I would like to chat about. So, hey, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. That's not a new video game. That's a DLC for a video game that came out last year.
Right.
Interesting. So, some history about the Game Awards. Back in 2015, The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC was nominated for, I believe, Best RPG. And I think it actually won Best RPG. It was not nominated for Best Game, but it was nominated and won Best RPG. So there is precedence for DLC being considered for an award at the Game Awards. And that's the end of the list of justifications for this. Because if you think about, like, I don't know, last year when Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty came out, which was absolutely one of the best video game things that released last year, that didn't get nominated for jack shit. Didn't get nominated for Best RPG, Best Action Game, Best Game, nothing. So that part of it feels a little bit inconsistent from that perspective. And it feels a little bit like this isn't Jeff Keighley making this decision. This is the panel of like 80 game journalists that are on the committee.
The Video Game Electoral College.
Yes, the electoral. Well, no, because technically we elect our electoral college.
Yeah, I know.
Which we have zero input on all the game journos that are involved in the Game Awards nominations. But they get together and they nominate stuff, and that's the nominations we see. The winners, I shouldn't say this because now I'm not 100% sure. I think the winners are by vote. By people voting. Or at least has a significant percentage of the winner is by people voting. It's not just those 80 people. They don't just like, hey, these are the nominees and also the winner. Like, because that would kind of take away the point.
Yeah,
but all that to say, Jeff Keighley didn't decide that Shadow of the Erd Tree should be on the Game of the Year list. These big group of gaming journalists and critics decided that Shadow of the Erd Tree should be on the list.
Right.
I am of 2 minds. Sorry, I'm of 3 minds.
Oh.
Mind number 1. I think this is totally fine, because when I do a top 10 list, I would consider a DLC if it was one of my favorite video game things of the year. For example, last year, Phantom Liberty was in my top 10. Hell, Phantom Liberty was in our collective top 5 that we made for Games That Don't Suck podcast.
Yeah.
So sure, Shadow of the Erdtree should totally be considered if it's big enough and good enough to stand up against the other best games of the year.
Right.
Mind number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is the Game Awards. This isn't Shea and Kyle's Podunk Podcast, which is a really good name for a podcast.
Ooh.
This is like the Game Awards. It's the Academy Awards. It's whatever. Like, we should be celebrating the best new games, and because there's always a limit on the number of nominees, it kind of sucks that Shadow of the Erdtree is on this list when you'll notice Helldivers 2 not on here, Animal Well not on here, Silent Hill 2 not on here. A lot of great games that people loved didn't get a nomination, while a DLC did get a nomination.
Yeah. And also,
that doesn't really feel fair.
And also, Black Myth Wukong is on here, which is just a worse Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree.
Separate argument.
Yeah.
Separate argument. Yeah. So that's mine number 2. Mine number 3 is, who fucking gives a shit? It's a stupid video game award show that's mostly just commercials. Why does anyone care what wins?
Right. The only people who care should be the people who make the games.
Yeah. And
even then, maybe you don't really care that much, except for the fact that it gives you dollars for promo.
But hey, if I made video games and I got to be nominated and maybe win at the Game Awards, that'd be pretty fucking cool. And to that point, Kyle, that's an extra, arrow in the quiver of mine number 2, which is to say, Elden Ring won Game of the Year last year.
Yeah.
Can fucking someone else get it instead? Like, come on. So those are my 3 mines. How many do you have?
I have the one, which is... If Alan Wake the Lake House DLC was on this list, I'd be very excited. And so who am I to say a different DLC that other people are really excited about could not be on there?
I see that point, but let me rebuff that and say
Okay.
using like a personal preference as a justification for a systemic solution is maybe not the right approach. Because, like, what if there wasn't a DLC this year you cared about? Would you feel differently about Erdtree? Because it sounds like, well, you care about it because you would want Lake House to be on there. But what if the Lake House didn't exist? Or what if it wasn't good? Or whatever?
Then I would probably feel differently, and I would be wrong for feeling differently because that would be a lack of empathy on my part.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think empathy has anything to do with it.
I think
it's not about...
Yeah, well, because I would want the Lake House DLC on there. I'm able to identify with the people who want Shadow of the Erdtree on there. We have a shared experience, so I'm like, yeah, okay. But if I didn't have Lake House DLC, I might not be open to understanding the people who do want Erdtree on there, and might feel differently.
I don't think.
And I think that's wrong.
Any kind of lack of empathy. It's first of all, the Game Awards. It's not about the people playing the video games. This isn't an award for best loved community with the most passion. Like this, the Game Awards is supposed to be for and about the people that make the video games.
Yeah.
If we're just taking it at face value. So for me, like, if the argument is a lot of people worked really hard on Shadow of the Erdtree, it was awesome, it should be rewarded. Yeah, sure. The only response that I have to that is, yeah, dude, but Elden Ring got its flowers last year. Like, that's the whole point. So, because I'll say, look, as someone in opposition to your point, my game of the year is Helldivers 2. That's not on this list. And I think it sucks for my favorite game to not be on here so that a DLC can be. Now, if my game of the year was Astrobot, and that was the only game I cared about, that is on here. Would I still care about Erdtree being on there because my game wasn't losing out? Not as much, but I would still think that for the Game Awards specifically, it is not fair for a DLC to be in a Game of the Year list. I think in a categorical list, it's fine. Hell, what I think should happen is there should be a best DLC category. There should be a best remaster / remake category.
Yeah.
Those should be separate categories. In a weird way, if those categories existed, I would feel better about those games being in a Game of the Year list. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they had a best DLC category and Erdtree won that category, I would feel less icky about it also being nominated for best game.
Are you sure? Because I feel like then you'd be like, well, it already, Elden Ring won last year, and then Erdtree also got its, flowers this year in that category. So
don't hear what I'm not saying. I still wouldn't support it being on the list,
Okay.
but I would like be less annoyed by it because we're at least saying this is the best DLC of all the DLC. We're not. The Game Awards isn't even saying that. It's saying it by proxy, but there's no actual award for the best DLC. So why is Erdtree just given it's arbitrarily given the award of best DLC by way of being nominated here because there isn't a category? And that feels extra shitty, right? Like, it's like if Silent Hill 2 was on this list. Well, actually, it's not a fair comparison because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is on here. So by comparison, like, we're saying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the best remake of the year. Just arbitrarily, because there's no competition. It gets to be on the list, and no other remakes are.
Yeah, I think that's
that
an
just feels
interesting
weird.
point.
That just feels weird. Look, and best remaster remake would be a really complicated category, because
Right.
how do you compare something like Rebirth and Silent Hill 2? Both, at least gamers say they're very good games. We did not like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but that's a separate point. So I don't know. That's my soapbox about Erdtree. The third mind is the biggest one, right? Like, the third mind is the most important. This is not a big deal.
Right.
It doesn't really matter. I'm bummed that Helldivers 2 didn't get to be nominated. I'd never would have expected it to win anyway, but it would have been really cool, and the team deserved to have that game be nominated. Animal Well deserved to be nominated also. And hell, so did Silent Hill 2. And that's what sucks. Like, I would much rather see those 3 games on here than Shadow of the Erdtree. I would much rather see those games on here than Erdtree, Black Myth, Wukong, Metaphor, Ria Fantasio, or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but that's a separate argument.
Yeah.
So what do you think's going to win?
What do I think is going to win?
Well, what do you think should win from this list?
Oh, should win from this list? I don't
Yeah.
know that I care about any of these aside from Astrobot, and I don't even care about Astrobot that much. So, I don't know.
Interesting.
Elden Ring.
Okay.
I have not played Shadow of the Erdtree, so I don't know. I have not played
Right.
Metaphor yet. I intend to, so I don't know. Astrobot's the only one I have played, and Astrobot
you played
Elden.
Rebirth, didn't you?
Oh yeah, that's true, but I don't
just
even
didn't
count
like
that
it.
because it's a sack of shit. So Astrobot's the only one that I care about that I've played. And then Elden Ring Elden Ring, I do care about the base game, but I've not played the DLC. And Metaphor, I have not played. Maybe could care about it, so it's hard to even. I guess by default it would be Astrobot, but maybe Elden Ring, maybe Metaphor. What now? What would you want to win out of that list?
I mean, I very obviously would pick Astrobot.
Yeah.
It's my number 2 game. And really, Helldivers and Astrobot are like leagues ahead of any other game in my top 10. So I would love to see Astrobot win. And if I had to pick what I think will win, I do think Astrobot will win. I would say, to me, I think it's either Astrobot or Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, it's not going to be Final Fantasy VII because the diehard Final Fantasy VII fans, a lot of them admit there are a lot of parts of Rebirth that are not good. People have come down on that significantly over time.
But what people are you talking about?
Specifically the folks at MinMax who are always like super glowing about everything and hardly ever have like a word of criticism to say about stuff. That's not entirely true. But they do tend to be on the much more positive side of games coverage. Or they try to keep it that way anyways. Like even the most diehard Final Fantasy VII fans, like from their community, are kind of lukewarm on Rebirth for a lot of the open world bloat.
That's interesting. I mean, obviously you and I would agree with that sentiment, but I feel like people loved this game in spite of and oftentimes ignoring its flaws. But yeah, maybe time has made them finally recognize the open world is shit in that game.
Yeah, I think
so. Open world activities are straight out of 2006.
Yeah, well, because I can see where like when you're playing it, the emotional highs are very, very high. But that stuff's not going to maintain over time. Like the memory of it is going to dull, and the low spots are going to be brought up just because of the way that humans think typically. And so I think that's part of why, just like the psychology of a human, I think is part of why that's come down quite a bit.
I also feel like people soured on like the ending of that game, the multiversal stuff,
big time.
But like all of that just begs the question of like, why is it on here?
Correct.
If people have soured on it over time, and the consensus is like, maybe it wasn't the best thing that came out. Why is it on here? It just seems weird.
Yeah.
It's like they made this list like 6 months ago and like couldn't change it or something. So yeah, maybe not Final Fantasy VII. I mean, I do think it'll be Astrobot. What's interesting is because Erdtree is on here. It's almost like Erdtree needs to win. Like if Erdtree, they can't win. If Erdtree wins, it's going to be even more frustrating.
Yeah.
Because Elden Ring won last year, it's the DLC, etc., etc. But if Erdtree doesn't win, then the same people are going to be like, but then why was it nominated at all? Something else that could have won should have been there instead. So it's like they fail no matter what.
Yeah, they fail like. No matter what games are on this nomination list, they fail because you can never
gamers
capture.
Are the worst.
Yeah.
Although it's not. Frankly, it's not just gamers because people do this with the Academy Awards too. Like,
totally.
What movies got snubbed? It's like maybe none. Maybe nothing got snubbed
because it doesn't
have X
matter.
Nominees, but it's also like, yeah, dude, 30 amazing movies came out this year. They can only nominate 8. Something's not gonna make it, and that's how I wish I felt about this list. Like, frankly, if you put any one of those 3 games, Helldivers, Silent Hill, or Animal Well, on this list instead of Erdtree, I would have 0 complaints about it. I did not like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but most people loved it. And like, if that was the list, fine. Like, I actively disliked what I played of Metaphor Refantatio, but I know most people loved that game.
Right.
So I'm not going to complain about those things being on the list. It's a technicality that I am complaining about Erdtree being on here, and that just makes it a little bit of a bummer. Because the whole, like, what stuff got snubbed, that type of conversation, I just feel like it's useless because it's so subjective, and that's the point of this. So like it's tricky.
Yeah.
But anyway, what did you say what you think is going to win?
No, I didn't. Honestly, Elden Ring.
Think so?
Or well, no, actually, Sleeper, Balatro.
Balatro's not going to win. The indie game never wins.
I would be surprised. Have you seen the sales numbers of Balatro since it went on mobile, Shea?
Look, I bought Balatro on mobile today.
Oh my god!
Because I want to play it.
Oh my god!
But yeah, the indie game never wins, and that's also why Animal Well is not on here. Only like there's always one token indie game. It's not going to win, but they have to nominate one token indie game. I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to win. People are feral for Balatro.
Yeah. If it's not Balatro, it's Elden Ring.
You might be right. We'll find out on December 12th.
All right.
Okay, next category, Best Game Direction. Nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantatio.
Hey, shocker,
so, like,
the same
that's
list.
The same list. Like,
boring.
What's the point of that?
Also, this category is terrible because you're asking for the gaming public to give a rating on the direction of a game when most people have no idea how video games are made.
No idea.
So what do I think people are going to pick? It's going to be something where it's like convoluted and there's a lot going on. So probably Final Fantasy.
I can't imagine it would be Final Fantasy for the same reasons you brought up. Like,
yeah.
The open world stuff is so terrible. Like, no one would argue the open world is the best part of that game.
Right.
And like that has a lot to do with game direction. But
much I feel like
direction,
people think about direction and they think about film. So they think story, characters. They're not thinking gameplay.
Yeah, but Well, that's a very limited view on direction in
Yeah,
film also.
I
so
think
much
people
of,
are stupid, and so that's what they
yes,
think.
yes. But again, this isn't just the voting public. It's also the critics
Yeah.
and folks that are involved in the decision-making process too, who are smarter and do have knowledge. And that's why we should listen to what they say even when we don't agree, which is what people choose not to do anymore. When I think of direction, like one of the most important aspects of direction is cutting and editing and framing.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a really good director, is understanding how to craft the product, whether that's the story or the visuals or the audio or whatever it might be. Like the framing around this, or the structure of the game or the movie or whatever you're talking about. That's what's really important in a good director and in good direction. And when I think of something like that, I hate to say it, but I go to Astrobot. The variety and creativity
for what you
and
would do, or
specificity,
for what other people would do.
what I would
Okay.
do. Well, I think, yes, what I would choose is Astrobot for those reasons. Realistically, whatever wins Game of the Year is going to win Best Game Direction, and vice versa.
That's fair.
So it's, hard to predict, because I would say, I think it might be Astrobot, but it could very well be Shadow of the Erd Tree.
See, I don't think it would be Shadow of the Erd Tree. I think for game direction, again, I'm going to lock in Rebirth on mine. But for my pick, by default, Astrobot again.
Yeah. Best Narrative: Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, Metaphor Refantatio, Senua's Saga: Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. This is one that's I have no fucking idea. I skipped this category when I voted just because I haven't played most of these games.
I could see a Dragon being the community pick on this one.
That's what I would pick, just because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And I know how much people love it. I have no specific attachment to it. And also, I don't like Final Fantasy. I don't like Metaphor. I don't like Senua's Saga. And I can't speak to Silent Hill 2, but also that narrative existed already.
Uh-huh. Well,
that feels weird to reward that.
So,
when
yes.
they wrote this game 20 years ago.
Yes and no. They did a bunch of stuff.
But they didn't. Let's take the script for the original game and this one and compare line by line, page by page, beat by beat. It's 10% different?
No, it's more.
Really?
Yeah, they flesh out a lot of stuff.
Fleshing out is not story. I just find that very hard to believe.
I mean, the stuff they fleshed out was some important character narrative stuff that they built on from the original. I mean, that would be my pick for this category, because I don't care about any of the other ones, but also I really, really liked Silent Hill 2 Remake. But what I think people are going to pick, I'm going to say not Rebirth, because people have issues with the ending. Not that I think most people made it to the ending. Narrative. Like a Dragon. Again, I don't think enough people played Metaphor for it to matter that much in these conversations.
But again, you're going too hard on public vote. Like the vast majority of critics that put this list together put Metaphor on here. They like it and they care about it. That's my pick.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the math, right? So I don't know how much of it is public and how much of it are the experts weighing in. So it's it's hard to. I'm going on what I think the public vote is going to be, and that's kind of where I'm going to land each time we do this in all these categories, and I think that's going to be probably Like a Dragon.
Okay.
But yeah, my pick would be Silent Hill.
Best Art Direction: Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erd Tree, Neva, and Metaphor Refantatio.
All the same
Astrobot
games except for Final Fantasy as the first two categories.
Neva.
Right, yeah. All the same games. Neva replaced Final Fantasy VII for the Game of the Year and Best Game Direction.
My pick is Astrobot. Again, just the color and scale and variety and all that stuff.
I would
really
also
awesome.
pick Astrobot, yeah.
I would not be upset to see Black Myth Wukong win. I could definitely see Black Myth Wukong winning. I've seen a bunch of that game. A couple of the YouTubers I like have been playing it. again, from a gameplay story perspective, I'm like, yeah, dude, it's a FromSoft game. Who gives a shit? But the character design and the world design and all the like the art direction part of it is really, really strong.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't blame. And similarly, Shadow of the Erdtree, people go nuts for the gothic bullshit in that game. So Black Myth or Elden Ring, I could see taking it.
Yeah, I think we're in alignment on that category then.
Best score and music: Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor Refantatio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. My memory of the Stellar Blade music is that like it's good, but it's very like Final Fantasy 13, Nier Automata.
Right.
It's just like not super singular. So I found it interesting that was on here. I love the Astrobot music. I hate just defaulting to Astrobot and everything. I also think the music in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is incredible.
Yes.
So I could see it going to that one.
My pick is Rebirth, and I think the public pick would be Rebirth as well.
Yeah, I think I agree
That's
with you.
the only thing that I really like about that game.
Best audio design: Astrobot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm trying to think of like if there was like super ambient or interesting things that Blop 6 was doing, and I can't really think of anything.
So.
I wouldn't be upset with Hellblade 2 winning this just because I know the transitionary audio stuff.
Binaural.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was trying to think of before. They do a lot of interesting tech stuff with their audio, so I think that deserves to be rewarded.
Yes.
I do. I think that'll probably win.
Yep, I agree.
Best performance: Brianna White playing Aerith in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hannah Tell playing Max in Life is Strange Double Exposure, Humberly Gonzalez playing Kay in Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts playing James Sunderland in Silent Hill 2, and Melina Jurgens playing Senua in Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. I have basically played none of these games, so I don't have a strong opinion. I find the writing and voice acting to be extremely trite in the recent Final Fantasy games. There's no fault of the actors, but I'm going to not vote for Aerith because I think a lot of those characters are super corny. I've heard good things about Hannah's performance in Life is Strange. Yeah. I've heard not as good things, not Humberly Gonzalez's fault, but just that the character of Kay is very flat and uninteresting. It's not her fault, but also like if the character is really flat, the actor probably shouldn't be rewarded for that. Not blamed. I'm not saying she should be blamed, but she maybe shouldn't be rewarded. So I don't know. Hey, give it to Melina Jurgens again. She won for the first game. She seems like she's absolutely crushing it and going for it. I say give it to her.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Not that I think Luke Roberts did badly as James Sunderland in Silent Hill 2. I think it's such a strange game, and like the reactions of people are very like otherworldly and dreamlike on purpose. That it's hard to like say, oh, that was a really great performance. It was a very interesting performance. I think the stuff that I've seen in like trailers and gameplay videos of Jurgens and Senua is really, really impressive stuff. She's going for it.
Games for Impact, which is always an interesting category. We were talking before we were recording about like the idea of this category I think is laudable, but I don't know, something about it feels kind of weird. Like it feels a little forced maybe when all the other categories are just like, what's the best RPG? And then we're like, game that has a societal thing to say. It seems like a weird thing to do in an extremely corporate environment, which with the Game Awards is extremely corporate.
Yes, for sure.
But anyway, nominees for Games for Impact: Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kenzera Zao. I have heard really good things about Tales of Kenzera Zao's story. I have it on the like PlayStation Plus premium crap, so I intend to play it or at least check it out. I bought Neva last week, but I haven't played it yet. I've heard really good things about that story also. Life is Strange, I've kind of heard mixed things about, so I'm a little on the fence about that. Senua's Saga, I know enough from the first game to know kind of what it's going for, and that I think is cool. Indica, I think, was a lot of like mental health. That was the one that's like in a nun kind of. I don't remember what Closer the Distance is.
I don't know what either Indica or Closer the Distance are. So I guess it
Slice
didn't
of life
impact me
sim,
very much.
Deeply emotional story about connections between family and friends in the face of tragedy. Yeah, I don't know. I would say, I wouldn't be surprised to see Hellblade 2 win this, but it's hard to. I don't have much of an opinion, having not played any of these yet.
Yeah, I wonder if Tales of Kenzera Zhao would win just because people liked the guy who was making it, and it didn't do all that well, and people feel bad.
Played it, though.
Yeah,
I don't think people are going to vote for it if they didn't play it.
I don't have a pick because I haven't played any of these, but yeah, Tales of Kenzera Zhao as like the pity pick, but the real pick maybe Senua.
Yeah, I think Senua. Best ongoing game: Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2. Yeah, this is a tricky one because I would probably want to pick Helldivers 2, but that game's had a lot of ups and downs, in fairness, on the quantity and quality of the launches they've had, the support that they've had. All of the Sony debacle about the login shit is very tough. So I would still pick it just because it's my favorite game of the year. I do not think it's going to win.
Well, so there are two categories here, which is just awful. So there's best ongoing and there's best community support.
But community support is more like, what's the Discord like? How's your social media presence? That's what community support is.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of the issues around, or some of the issues around Helldivers 2 were resulting from some of their communication with the community.
Some of them, yes. Most of them, no. Most of the issues were them stealth nerfing things, them delaying patches. Yeah,
Sure.
A lot of broken features. The game still suffers from tons of crashes. So yeah, I the majority of issues around Helldivers are still technical and design wise, not comms wise. But looking ahead to best community support, that's also a reason why I don't think Helldivers 2 will win that category.
Right.
It's because their communication has been very poor at times too.
Yeah.
But yeah, best ongoing game is hard because people really soured on Destiny, even though that last expansion was really well received. The stuff that came out after that, with them laying people off and rechanging the focus, I think put a bad taste. Diablo 4, people just love to hate for whatever reason, even though it sounds like they've patched that game really well.
They have, yeah.
Final Fantasy 14, I know the last big expansion people didn't love, because that game was everything that game was doing was best in class. People were obsessed. And then the last expansion, I think the general consensus was disappointment.
Oh,
so that one's a tough one.
I've heard people, it just depends on what circles you run in, I think, but I've seen a lot of people in the Giant Bomb chat Final Fantasy 14 is the best it's ever been, blah, blah, blah. People got to get in now. Now's the time.
I think generally, yes. That's the consensus that I've seen. Overall, it's still an amazing time, an amazing game to play, but specifically the story that was launched, because it was the beginning of a new arc.
Right, okay.
And I think what I saw was a lot of people were disappointed in that. But hey,
I think that's going to be the community pick for best ongoing, just because of how passionate that and how large that fan base is. I think people.
It's either that or Fortnite.
But I don't think people are gonna. I don't think it's gonna be Fortnite because people aren't that passionate about Fortnite at this point. At least not in the circles that I run around in. I don't know.
People are very passionate about Fortnite.
People still play it a lot, but I don't know that they're passionate about it.
They are definitely passionate about it, dude. There have been so many battle passes that released this year, and people they did a whole Avatar thing. They've had a bunch of specific content drops that people lost their minds over.
Okay. Well, I'm really glad I haven't been around for that. So yeah,
I only know it because of the weekly news show that I watch. He does,
my pick would be Helldivers 2, but I guess it would be either Final Fantasy 14 or Fortnite. I think 14.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Best community support is pretty much the same fucking list, which to your point is just a weird category. This one has Baldur's Gate 3 in it, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. Baldur's Gate 3, I'm confused by its inclusion here, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
They didn't do any DLC or big updates to my knowledge, so what's the communication? I don't know. It seems like a weird fit, but maybe that's why it's going to win, is because there's stuff that we just don't know about that's happening with that game and communication. To me, No Man's Sky is always a good rah-rah pick, just because they've done such a good job with that game. And frankly, communicating All the stuff in that game has been really awesome. I still I watch every trailer they put out of new content, even though I don't play it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it all looks awesome.
I'm happy
it's
for
got good
them.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So No Man's Sky would be my pick. But
Same.
I'm just going to throw a shot in the dark and say it's going to be Baldur's Gate 3 just because, like, I don't know why that's on here. So there's got to be something I don't know about.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go Final Fantasy 14, but my pick is also No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Just because I'm proud of them.
Yeah, hell yeah. Best indie game: Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50. As hyped as I am for Neva, and I'm sure it will be very high on my top 10 list, I have no doubt, I would pick UFO 50 for this.
Me
because
too.
I think it's such a cool collaboration between creators, and it's such a great package, and I think it deserves to be rewarded.
Yeah.
That said, Balatro is going to win.
Balatro will win. I also would vote UFO 50. I have heard some really incredible things about Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
Likewise.
And so I do really want to play that. It won't be this year, but I do want to play that eventually. But I think, community pick will be Balatro. Mine is UFO 50.
I also know people fucking love Animal Well, and it's doing a lot of really cool, inventive stuff.
Sure.
So, frankly, it's like this 5 seems like a really, really good list of video games.
It is.
And it sucks ass that only one of them gets to get a Best Game nomination. And because of that, I think Balatro's going to win.
Yeah.
Because it's nominated for Best Game. Would be weird for it to not win Best Indie Game and then beat out that indie game for a nomination on Best Game.
Yeah, that's true.
Best debut indie game: Animal Well, Balatro, Manor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire.
And again, this category it's a debut game from an indie developer. So it is an indie developer's first game.
Yes. Still a weird category.
I think it's
weird.
I also think it will end up as Balatro.
Yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Which again, it makes it feel just kind of odd. I've heard really good things about Manor Lords in early access. People are really hyped about that game. Pacific Drive was super not my style of game, but it's doing a lot of really cool things. You played a good amount of that.
That's my pick. I really liked Pacific Drive. I
Nice.
should play more of it because they've added a bunch of like customization content and new content and stuff to like kind of switch around your play style or the level of difficulty and adding options and accessibility stuff, which is really neat. And like it makes me feel respected as a player because like respecting my authorship on my own kind of experience. Pacific Drive is super, super cool. That would be my pick. And then I think Balatro is going to be the community. People didn't really like Plucky Squire that much. I'm
still playing it with my kids. I think that game is less than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Like it has a lot of really creative ideas, a lot of really fun mechanics, and the storybook packaging around that game is fan-fucking-tastic. But I think together as a video game, it's a little bit of a slog for a game that isn't even that long.
Yeah.
But I do like it. It's just not. I don't love it, even though I definitely wanted to. I will say, like, I voted for Animal Well in this. I know Balatro and Animal Well were both made by one person. Just, again, the depth of mystery and mechanics and inventiveness in Animal Well was really impressive to me. I know the guy worked on this game for like 8 years. I just think the scale of accomplishment is larger for Animal Well. That's to take nothing away from Balatro, but I just think the scale of accomplishment is larger in Animal Well, and that's why it got my vote. But I also do think Balatro is going to win it.
Yeah.
Best action game, stupid ass category. Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. So this is your best shooter and or fighting combat game. It's just so...
Yeah.
Like Black Myth Wukong and Helldivers 2. Totally similar video
Best
games.
Best game with action combat in it in any form. It's really stupid.
It feels a little bit... I mean, they always have best action game. I'm not saying they did it just for this reason. But I do feel like I think Black Myth Wukong is going to win this category. I think this is a little bit of a, it's not going to win Game of the Year, but it won Best Action Game.
Right.
Are you guys happy? Are you toxic people happy? Hey, Stellar Blade wasn't nominated for Game of the Year, but we know you fucking gooners love it. So, hey, it was nominated for Best Action Game. Are you happy? Please be happy.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a little bit of that. And frankly, same with Space Marine 2, which is a game that I think is very good. I do not think it deserves to be Game of the Year nominated, but this feels a little bit like all right, you got a nod here. Be happy you got a nomination somewhere.
Yeah. My pick is 40K. I like that more than Helldivers.
Okay.
I really, really like 40K. We need to fucking finish it. But yeah, also believe.
Hey, I texted you guys like 2 weeks ago, and you both said yes, let's finish it, and then that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah. I also think Black Myth Wukong will be the community pick. I'm guessing yours is Helldivers too.
Yeah. Again, it's weird to call it an action game,
right?
But because there aren't any like qualifiers around this one, like there is for best ongoing game, etc., and it's just best action game, best game that has action in it. Then yes, Helldivers 2 would be my pick.
Okay.
Best action adventure, which is very different than action, but best action adventure game: Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Obviously, Astrobot is my pick for this. I also think Astrobot is going to win, but I will say this is a weird fucking list. This is an even weirder list than best action game.
So my pick's Silent Hill 2 because I feel like Silent Hill 2 is actually fits in very well with this category because while there is action, it is more about the story and the exploration and moving through the space.
I mean, that's true of Astrobot. Not story,
yes.
But it's more about platforming and exploration and stuff.
Yes, but also I didn't like Astrobot all that much. I liked it, but not as much as most people liked it.
Our top 5 is going to be rough.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Silent Hill 2 for me. What I think people will pick, it'll either be Astrobot or the pity pick, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, since the studio closed.
Yeah, I think Lost Crown is definitely deserving of a nomination. That game doesn't get talked about enough as one of the best games of the year. It'll be in my top 10.
I do wonder how much of the gaming public is going to be like, hey, we need to do another game. We need to give another game an award where the studio was closed, similar to your
Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush, yeah, your rhythm game.
Yeah, but that's
I wonder
not
if like
why
people are going to want to make
it.
I know, but I do wonder if people like this time around, people are going to want to make a point about, hey, let's stop fucking closing these studios, idiots.
I think you are vastly overrating how much gamers give a shit about the people who make video games.
That's fair.
I don't think your average gamer gives 2 flying fucks about a person getting laid off at a studio.
Probably
not.
And
I think that's horrible, but I think it's the truth. And no, I know it's the truth because the YouTube video game news show I watch every week, the comment section is constantly littered with people being like, why are you talking about layoffs? No one cares. So, yeah.
Great.
Yes, I would pick Astrobot. I think Astrobot will win. Why is Star Wars Outlaws on this list? Come on, guys.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not even saying that the game is shit. I haven't played it.
Nobody thinks that game is amazing.
But come on, dude. Like, why is that on
Why
here?
is it there?
Come on. Like, there's no way it's one of the 5 best action-adventure games. There's just no way.
Paid slot.
Best RPG. Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor Refantatio. Hey, if Erdtree or Final Fantasy VII win Game of the Year, they're going to win this category. If they don't, then I guess I don't know. It'd probably still be Erdtree.
Maybe Metaphor for the public.
I could
pick
see it
on
being,
that.
yes, I could see that. Metaphor.
Otherwise, I mean, my pick is Dragon's Dogma 2 of the games on that list. I just think it's by far the most interesting RPG on there.
I voted for Dragon's Dogma 2. I know that game has a lot of stuff in it that I would not enjoy, but the little bit of I played, I greatly enjoyed until it kind of bugged out. But
right.
I voted for it for the exact logic that you had. I think that it's doing a lot of really interesting stuff, and it's cool to see a big budget RPG go all in on being an RPG as RPG. I think that's
right.
great that a game would still attempt that in the year of our Lord 2024.
Yeah.
Best family game: Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire.
Astrobot.
As a family member, I think Astrobot should win, and I think it will.
Yeah, same.
Mario Party is hot trash. The Plucky Squire isn't that great, although it is fun with kids. Princess Peach Showtime is very fun for kids, but not enough going on. Legends of Zelda, I think, is an interesting game that doesn't totally succeed in what it's trying to do, and also not that great of a game for kids because it's kind of complicated.
Right.
So it's kind of like Astrobot wins by default,
Yeah.
and also it's awesome. Best multiplayer: Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. I pick Helldivers. You pick Space Marine 2.
Actually, no, I would say Helldivers 2 for best multiplayer, because I think multiplayer is core to the game of Helldivers 2 in a way that it's not in Space Marine 2. Like, I could still get a lot out of playing Warhammer by myself, just like narratively for fun. And Helldivers 2,
2/3 of the game, though.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, not really. But like Helldivers 2, like playing that by yourself is ass. You just get rolled. Like you need to play with people.
You're ignoring 2/3 of Space Marine 2 because if you're just playing the single player, like the campaign solo, you're missing out on the operations mode, which is a big thing that people love.
Yeah, but I haven't played that
missing
yet.
out on the PvP.
Well, and
I know. I'm just saying, like, I think for a voter or for someone considering these games, you have to consider all of it. And people love the operations stuff in Space Marine 2. It sounds like there has been some balancing problems. People generally like
Shea,
it.
we're talking about
and the
my
PvP
pick.
Also.
My pick is Helldivers 2 for myself.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. You
I
can use whatever
I don't
logic
care
you want.
about the PvP stuff, and the operations would be cool maybe had I played it, but I don't know if it's good or not.
Fair enough.
Like, what I've played of Warhammer was more fun playing with you and Cody, but I would have gotten a lot out of it playing by myself. Helldivers 2,
Sure.
like the highs of the multiplayer in Helldivers 2 are much higher than the Warhammer highs.
Yeah, and I mean, even as someone who primarily plays Helldivers 2 by myself, just with randoms,
Right.
it's
Still multiplayer.
like the most fun I've had with the video game this year.
Yeah.
I do think Black Ops is going to win.
Yep.
People are all over the multiplayer and the zombies mode and stuff this year. So
Yeah.
and that's fine. It seems like it's good. I'm not going to complain about Black Ops 6.
They brought back
just have no
Nuketown,
interest in
so it
that.
wins by default, even though that's a terrible map.
Don't they have Nuketown in like every game at this point?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, best adaptation: Arcane, Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon Yakuza, which I forgot existed, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. Fallout should win, and it will. Although people
are
like Arcane.
big on Arcane. Kara was trying to get me to watch it with them, and I was like, no, I do not want to do that. My pick is definitely Fallout. I do think it's going to be Arcane.
Interesting. I think Fallout's going to win, and obviously I think it should.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's like a perfect adaptation. I think some of the story is pretty slow.
It's so
for
much
being such a
better
short
than I had
series,
hoped
but
it would be.
Absolutely. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
I wish it was even better than it is, because I think it could have been better, but it is awesome.
Yeah.
It totally gets the vibe. Yeah. They cared.
Right.
It's just so interesting to see Rings of Power compared to Fallout, which, like, clearly Rings of Power is created by people who know a lot and care a lot about Lord of the Rings, but they're just like, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want regardless of lore.
Yeah.
And Fallout feels very, very authentic to the games in a way that Rings of Power does not.
Agreed.
Granted, obviously totally different people working on it, but still an Amazon product. It's interesting comparison.
That's true, yeah.
All right. Finally, most anticipated game. I don't know why this is an award for game
really
people
dumb.
are looking forward to.
So this is the ad slot.
Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Ghosts of Yotai, Grand Theft Auto 6, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Monster Hunter Wilds. Ghosts of Yotai. Come on, bro.
That will be
shit.
the community pick for sure.
I don't think so at all. It'll be Death Stranding or Grand Theft Auto. 100%.
I don't know.
I think it'll be Death Stranding.
I feel like Ghost of Yotai is kind of
Fucking
the one
Kojima
that everyone can agree on.
people. No. Are you kidding me? Woke. Woman woke. It's going to be Death Stranding.
Oh, I did forget that it was a woman. Yeah, that's going to hurt it.
And same thing with Grand Theft Auto. Woman, woke.
Yeah, probably Death Stranding then. People like Norman Fetus.
It was going to be Death Stranding even if Grand Theft Auto 6 and Yotai weren't women games. It was always going to be Death Stranding. It's fucking Kojima. Right. Even if it didn't win, Jeff would fucking fake it and give it to him anyway.
So I kind of...
He will give this award to Kojima, and Jeff will be on his knees to give it to Kojima.
My pick is either Death Stranding or Metroid Prime 4.
Metroid Prime 4, really?
I want to like a Metroid game.
Have you played the other Metroid Prime games?
Yeah, I really like the other Metroid Prime games. I haven't played the Wii ones, but the GameCube 1 and 2 I really liked. And then the DS one, the DS ones and 3DS one, I really, really enjoyed both of those. Like Metroid Prime something Force and then Hunters, I think was one. Those were really good on the DS and 3DS. It's like I want to like a Metroid Prime game again. And also I need something to make me not regret buying a Switch 2 when that comes out. And I think that game's going to be Metroid Prime 4. So looking forward to that. And then I am really looking forward to the interesting, stupid bullshit of Death Stranding 2.
Sure.
Just because like they did that DLC kind of pseudo Metal Gear expansion for the first Death Stranding where they added like actual weapons and expanded on the combat capabilities and mechanics and stuff. And so I know like they're going to carry that stuff forward to Death Stranding 2 on the beach from the get-go, and that's exciting.
Are they?
I don't know that. I would assume, but I guess I shouldn't assume anything when it comes to Kojima.
Exactly. Because he's such a genius. All he does is surprise you. He is the Rian Johnson of video game directors.
Co-genius.
In fairness, it's worth mentioning Monster Hunter Wilds because I actually could see Monster Hunter Wilds winning this.
People
are rabid for Monster Hunter.
I still don't get it. I've tried it. I still don't get it.
Me either. But I'm not going to yuck their yum because I don't see anything wrong with Monster Hunter. It's just not for me. I do think Death Stranding is going to win though.
Okay, yeah, I think so too.
And that's it. That's the Game Awards.
Of it.
We didn't talk about like best streamer, best esports team, because who fucking cares, dude?
Actually,
who cares?
Really, really quickly, who do you think the content creator of the year is going to be? Queso, Ilo Juan, Techo Gamers, Typical Gamer, or Usada Pecora?
Yes.
Who I'm guessing is a VTuber.
Oh my god.
They just have a picture of an anime character with bunny ears.
Not that one, please. Please, Lord, not that one.
I kind of want that one to win.
Typical Gamer, just because I think that's a funny name.
Also, I don't know if Usada Pecora is, male or female or what they identify as, but they are the only person on this list who's not a dude. And it'd be cool to have not a dude win, but there's going to be a dude who wins, so...
Well, dudes are gamers,
Yeah, gamers are dudes, bro.
I'm a dude, you're a dude, she's a dude, and we're all dudes.
Bro, if your dude doesn't even game, is he even a dude?
Asking the real questions. That is some real straight white male podcast content right there. That's it. That's the Game Awards.
Congratulations, video games.
What do you think? What do you think's going to win? I mean, by the time we get your email and read it, we'll already know. But if you watch the Game Awards, send us your thoughts and feelings about the Game Awards. Send us an email to info@SheaHatesEverything.com, and we'll read it, just like we're going to read these next two emails.
Whoa!
First one comes from Cody. Howdy, haters.
Hey.
Hope you're both having and continue to have a wonderful holiday season. Cody, you missed the part at the top where
we're
Kyle
having
was
a
working too
bad
much and
holiday season.
So I thought of a question recently that I'd love to get your opinions on. What is the worst required section of a video game that is otherwise one of your favorites? These could be anything from full-on levels of the game to required activities along the way. Examples that come to mind for me are gummy ship missions in Kingdom Hearts, Blitzball in Final Fantasy X, the library level in Halo Combat Evolved, etc. Do any immediately come to mind for you? And then he has a lastly PS question that I'll save. Quick editor's note, or sorry, like host note for people that write in emails with a question. Stop sending us examples because that steals my ideas of the answer. Because I was reading this question and immediately it was like, what's a bad required section in a game that you otherwise love? And immediately I was like, Blitzball.
Well, yeah,
Blitzball,
for sure, top of mind.
And Gummy Ship Kingdom Hearts.
See, I like
those were
Gummy
the two.
Ship.
The Gummy Ship in Kingdom Hearts 2 was more fun. The Gummy Ship in Kingdom Hearts 1 is trash tier, hot garbage, stinky, smelly cheese,
boo,
toe funk,
boo,
boogers.
Boogers. Whoa. We haven't used that one before. So I have a bunch in the pocket here.
I have others. I'm just saying I had to actually think. Cody required me to think.
You? So I actually have a different Kingdom Hearts one, and that's the Atlantis level, the Little Mermaid level.
Oh Lord,
that
which
is
one?
A slog.
Do you mean the Kingdom Hearts?
The Kingdom Hearts 1
where you're swimming underwater?
I would rather play the rhythm
Hearts
game.
2? Dude, the rhythm game is so fucking bad.
It's bad,
though.
but it's shorter.
But it's also hard because it's so bad.
Sure.
At least in Kingdom Hearts 1, you can lock on and like just swim straight at enemies. But that's a good pull because that level is terrible.
Asshole. That level is asshole. Resident Evil 4, the Regenerators. There's one hallway in particular. Those are the enemies that are like spiky and like walk slowly towards you. You have to shoot the like parasites. You have to kill all the parasites inside of it in order to actually kill it. Otherwise, it keeps regenerating all its limbs. And there's one hallway in particular when you're coming back from, it's not the cold storage room. You're coming back from like, I think the trash room. And you come around the hallway to the hallway you've been before, and there's one right there, and you really only have the space of the hallway that you've traveled to kill the thing, and you can't get around it because it's a tight hallway, and there are fucking parasites on the backs sometimes, so you get the parasites on the front, and then you have to shoot its legs off to get it to land on the ground, and then try and shoot the parasite off its back, and that always feels bad, like really bad, every time you play it. So that's a very specific one for Resident Evil 4 for me that I never look. I have
a good one from Resident Evil 4 also.
Okay,
and it's the tank controls, like the parts of the game where you have to use the tank controls. That's like the worst section of that game.
Dude, you're such boogers.
No, but it did make me think of Dead Space, the unkillable necromorph.
Oh yes.
Like I understand like mechanically why it's interesting because you got to use your slowdown time stuff and the telekinesis and all that stuff. It's interesting mechanically, and also from a scary game, it's really effective at that. Yeah. I just find it not fun. Right. Whenever that fucker shows up, I'm like, ugh, like because he's annoying.
Yeah, you're 100%
so that part of it was not my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also added Final Fantasy XII, the hunt missions. So there are like 150 hunts that you have to go on. Not have to, they're optional. Many of them are optional throughout the game. And the fights are fun because some of them are like unique enemies, but a lot of them are like bigger, badder, harder versions of normal enemies. And they make them different. Like sometimes you're getting like, it's a gank mission, or there's one where like, oh, it's a big wolf. And also he's got like 4 small wolves that you got to take care of too. Or there are like specific things you need to do in order to get the monster to come out or to trigger it. And most of those things are very interesting. What is annoying about them is the structural process where you have to go accept the hunt, and then you have to go find the person who gave you the hunt, and then you have to go do the hunt, and then you have to go back to the person who gave you the hunt, and then you have to go back to the board to finish the hunt. And that is annoying as fuck because all of those things are in completely different spots on the map. So you have to get in your airship or you have to walk it, and that it makes it so tedious. And that is super frustrating in a game that is very fun, and the combat can be pretty like passive. Having to run around that much really ruins the good vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have another one. In Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
the HM horror problem, where
Yes, good one.
like like eventually they stopped doing it. I forget what gen it was, where like you just like summon a Pokemon that you know that can do the thing for you.
Yeah.
But like having to have that slot on your team burned up by an HM horror really sucks.
Yes. Yes. Especially if all of the HM moves were good, it wouldn't be a problem.
Sure.
But so many of the HM moves are shitty
Right.
in combat.
Oh, yeah.
Like Flash, it's useless.
Right.
Cut, it's not that strong. Like Rock Smash, we talked about. Like there's so many of the moves are bad.
I don't even teach Flash to a Pokemon. I just use the map in my guide to blindly go through the cave.
I almost did that.
It's not worth it.
I also had a Pokemon one, which is like in many of the later games. Basically, any time a Pokemon game forces you to participate in whatever side activity they've shoehorned in. So like the fashion show in whatever Pokemon game it is, like the cute competition, any of those things are so stupid. And they almost always force you to do like one round of it for a story reason. And I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I just want to battle, bro.
Yeah, dude. Just want to grind.
The Telltale Walking Dead games, the shooting sequences.
Those are awful.
I love The Walking Dead. One of my favorite stories in any video game ever.
Really good.
The shooting, unplayably bad.
So terrible.
Unplayably bad.
Really bad. Yeah, go ahead with yours.
You got more? I got one more real one and then a jokey one. This is true in many RPGs, but it's specifically a hindrance in the big Bethesda RPGs, which is like after the first intro section, like the next couple hours of you don't have a spot to drop your shit, and so you're just always encumbered or right on the borderline of being encumbered because you're like, I don't know what to pick up, I don't know what to keep, I don't know where to go, so I'm just trying to pick up all the stuff I can, and then it's really annoying inventory management. Just let me buy a house and let me dump all my shit in a cabinet,
Right.
never to be touched again. I've convinced I'm totally gonna sell this extra AK-47, and I never do. But I want to be able to put it somewhere. I hate it when I don't have a place to put my shit in a Bethesda game.
Yeah, especially this AK-47 in Elder Scrolls 4: The Oblivion.
What, you don't play with mods?
The AK-47 Russian mod. Yeah, totally. Kalashnikov mod. I had one. Oh, yeah, every time you get knocked down in a Call of Duty game, like the story, like, oh, a character's knocked down, and like you lose consciousness, and then it comes back, and you're blinking, and it's blurry, and then a character helps you back up. Why?
Yeah.
Just let me just be the character still.
You could just say getting knocked down in any video game.
That's
sucks
true.
ass.
Yeah, it's
Like
always
having
feels bad.
movement taken away from you in that way is so frustrating. That's why playing the second Horizon game and playing that DLC, I was like, I just can't, dude. The combat is so fun, and the weapons feel so good to use, and the movement is great, but everything knocks you down. It's so tedious.
Yeah,
getting knocked down blows.
I have one.
The last
more.
one I've got.
Okay, you go with yours.
Okay, you go, because then I've got a joke.
Oh, okay. Minecraft fighting the Ender Dragon. It's so, like, that fight sucks. It's boring and lame.
It's not great.
They've spiced it up over time a little bit, but not enough.
Yeah.
And, like, you have to do it to then, like, go get shulker shells and get the elytra that, like, makes the moving around the game actually fun. That's just such a boring, lame fight. I despise it.
See, and when you said it, I was like, it's not that bad. There are so many, like, little, not glitches, but, like, so many ways that you can take advantage of stuff. But that kind of proves your point.
Right.
Like, if it was an interesting fight, people wouldn't be finding ways to cheese it, you know? But yeah, my last one is in Super Smash Bros. Melee, when my high school friend Josh plays as Donkey Kong and just grabs you and throws you off the ledge over and over and over again forever. That's a system I don't like in a video game.
Yeah.
But this was a really interesting exercise, because what I did, because Cody, you stole my two obvious answers, was I opened up my top 100 games of all time list and just scrolled through, And I was like, hey, these are all games I love. What are things about them I don't like? And it was hard to find examples because I was like, oh, Portal 2. What's something in Portal 2 that I don't like?
Nothing.
Fucking nothing. That game's like perfect.
Yeah, basically.
Journey. What's something that really sucked in the game Journey? Nothing. That game is perfect. So it was kind of... I had to keep scrolling for a while until I found some good examples.
Oh, here's what time limits in video game. Like, sections that have time limits. What, like...
Okay.
Don't. It's just, like, unnecessary stress. Especially older games where like there's no auto saving, there's just hard saves. It's like, really, you're gonna like fail me on this section, then we have to redo. And it's like, especially sections with like long timers, like 20-minute timers, 15-minute timers. It's like, really, like I'm gonna get really far and then the timer's gonna run and I have to do that all over again. That fucking blows, dude. Like there are sections in Final Fantasy VII that have timers, and it's like, why? This is
there are lots of sections.
This RPG. Why timer?
Yeah.
Stop.
Let me take my time. It's the opposite of what I'm here
for.
Well, listeners, if you have sections in your favorite games that suck, send us an email, info@sheaitseverything.com. Cody finishes his email. Lastly, just for fun, what does your standard Thanksgiving plate look like? What are the must-haves and what are the must-avoids at your Thanksgiving dinner? So we missed this with timeliness or whatever. I guess we would have always missed it because should have posted yesterday. Yeah. But we always do weird stuff for Thanksgiving. Like when we did Thanksgiving at Mom's and we did like beef and noodles, mashed potatoes, peas and corn. Somewhat of a non-traditional Thanksgiving.
It's like a sweet potato casserole in there. Some rolls.
Rolls, yes. Yeah. But yeah, I would say like I'm pretty basic Thanksgiving person. If I had like an ideal Thanksgiving plate, give me some turkey and ham. Give me some like King's Hawaiian rolls. Give me any kind of potato. I don't care. Give me roasted. Give me baked. Give me mashed. I'll eat it all. Scalloped with cheese. Sure. Why not?
Ooh, yeah.
Give me some mac and cheese, which I will also eat pretty much anyway. I love a good creamy mac and cheese. I love a good casserole style crispy edges mac and cheese because that's the southerner in me now.
Lobster mac and cheese is good.
Lobster mac and cheese is also good. More of a Christmas dish, but yeah. But yeah, and then the biggest thing, because my wife and I talk about this all the time because she's a legit southerner and she wants everything to be mushy. And I don't.
No, me neither.
I'm a northerner. Green beans. That's always the trick. She wants the super mushy, like drenched in liquid
awful
green beans.
Awful.
I want crispy, snap, thin green beans. Brightly colored green beans.
So interestingly, does Kelly like the canned peas better or like the fresher, frozen, crispy peas better? Or does she not like peas at all?
I don't know that she has a preference.
Okay.
She will eat peas.
Because Kara's the same. Kara's the same way, but with peas, where Kara prefers like the canned peas, and I prefer the crispy peas.
See, and I'm not going to turn my nose up at a canned pea.
Yeah.
I generally don't like canned corn because it's mushy. Because corn should have some snap to it.
Sure.
Peas, if you want your peas a little mushy, I'm not gonna turn my nose up at you. I don't want them to be like mashed. I don't want mashed soft peas.
Right.
But if they're just from a can, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So like mushy green beans are an avoid for me. I'm not a sweet potato fan. That's always going to be an avoid for me. And the biggest one is fucking deviled eggs. Get that nasty ass shit.
I'm going over to Mom's to pick up deviled eggs tomorrow, bro. I love
She was
them.
making those deviled eggs when I was packing the car.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to vomit.
Dude.
So stinky.
Oh, I love them stinky deviled eggs. So that's a must-have for me. I'm just getting them a little late this year, and that's okay. I like turkey. So the turkey that I made, Kara and I made, came out really well, actually. It was not dry. It was nice and juicy. It turned out pretty well. I agree with you. Kind of potatoes in any form. I do really, really love Mom's mashed potatoes. So the way we do mashed potatoes and beef and noodles and all that stuff, the way you and I do it, which is the correct way, weirdos separate the things on their plate. Shea and I have a system. It's a base of mashed potatoes with a slightly indented center, almost like a bowl. Then you...
Well, it needs to be in a bowl.
In a bowl, yeah. indented center that you fill with the beef and noodles, and then you top it with heaps and heaps of peas and corn, and then it's all that way you can get like a good spoonful of all the layers. It's like a 4-layer, 5-layer dish that
slosh some of that beef and noodle juice on top too, bro.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of gravy,
but
the beef and noodle juice I'm all about.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And for folks that are looking to try this out at home, when we're talking beef and noodles, these are egg noodles, baby.
Egg noodles, yep.
These are Amish style, thick ass egg noodles.
And the mashed potatoes, plenty of butter, perfectly smooth.
Yeah.
That's that good shit.
Mama's mashed potatoes, you could drink through a straw.
I wouldn't, but you could.
That's how I like it.
Yeah.
Although no, that's not even true, because I like some mashed potatoes with chunks in them. I like them with cheese,
eat it however.
Onions.
The only thing I don't do is like the powdered mashed potato mix stuff, the reconstituted stuff. I'm avoiding that. That's a big avoid.
Yes. Everything I'm talking
Depression era mashed potatoes are no for me.
Yes. All of my potato takes are legit, real, freshly made potatoes.
Yes. Yep.
I'm just saying if you're holding a potato in your hand, you could do damn near anything to that fucker, and I will eat it.
As long as it's cooked.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, I've not tried raw potato. I don't think I would enjoy it,
bad.
But I'm not saying
it's a bad,
I wouldn't
spongy
try.
texture. Grainy, spongy, gritty. It's not good. Hey,
awesome.
Thanks for the questions, Cody.
Yes. And then we've got an email from our friend Aaron. Hey, you two. Finally sending another email.
Finally.
I plan to do it every month, but I always forget. You know, I'll do it later, but later never comes. Aaron, you have no idea how much I understand that. That's how I approach my entire life. First and foremost, Croc is getting a remake, although I'm sure Kyle already knows, and I probably just listened to you guys talking about it. You're probably right. I think we have talked about that on a previous
I have pre-ordered the Croc remake collector's edition that comes with a statue of Croc. I can pull that up. Game release schedule.
Is it already out?
No. Is it? Well, okay, so my collector's edition comes in April, and there's no date. Did the Croc remake come out? I don't know that there's a date on it. Croc remastered release date.
Yeah, I don't have it on my list anywhere, which is
it says the game is set to launch across platforms in December 2024. That's a Game Rant article from October 31st. So it's a little out of date. I don't know I don't know when that's it doesn't have a date yet. But I know I doubt it's coming out this month. The collector's edition is not until April, so that's when I will be playing it when I get that. But
got it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yes, Aaron, we know that it's coming. Yes. Thank you. I have been listening to the podcast since the very beginning. We missed a lot during the hiatus of the podcast. Most importantly, we never got to hear about Kyle's experience with the true future of gaming. I am, of course, talking about Google Stadia.
Yes.
I remember him pre-ordering it, and I'm dying to know his experience with it. Please tell us about it. Thanks for the content. I appreciate it, and don't worry about the runtime. I love the 5+ hour episodes. Well, Aaron.
Ironically, Aaron, this is the shortest episode.
Yeah. Apologies that we're not doing the long-ass episodes. But hey, if it makes you feel better, my goal was for this episode to be an hour long.
It's going to hit 2.
It isn't.
All right, so Google Stadia. Here's what happened. I had it pre-ordered. I didn't have a lot of money, so it was like kind of a big deal for me to pre-order it. And I started to see some not so great stuff about it, and I canceled that pre-order. And that's my experience with Google Stadia.
A rare time when it comes to buying something where you made the right decision.
Actually, it was the wrong decision because for my collection of hardware, I would kind of like a Google Stadia. However, I'm sure I can't
use it.
I'm sure I could buy one very cheaply right now because he can't use it.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
So you know what? It was the right choice. I can get it cheaper now.
Right,
eBay.com, Google Stadia.
That feels. I'm sure. I'm thinking that's kind of like unethical to sell something like that when it can't be used.
Google Stadia Premier Edition wireless controller plus the Chromecast Ultra for $35 in box.
Wow, $35.
It is brand new. I believe this is sealed. It looks sealed
crazy.
still.
Well, that's clearly someone that thought they were going to have a collector's item on their hands, and do not.
Well, it's a collector's item to me.
Like, if you're trying to sell something as a collector's item and you're selling it for $35, you fucked up.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there are cheaper ones too.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
Well, all right. Thank you, Cody and Aaron, for your emails. If you would like to send us an email, or hell, Cody, Aaron, if you got more thoughts, send us another one. You can do so at info@SheaHatesEverything.com, and we will read it on our January episode.
That's info@SheaHatesEverything.com.
I need to get one of those like soundboards that all those like streamers have and like radio personalities have. I want to get one that has that.
Yeah. Oh, let's get a clean cut.
A clean.
Okay. That's info@SheaHatesEverything.com.
That was overperformed.
Okay. All right. Let me try it again. Let me take it again. All right, I can do it. No, I can do it. I'm like Troy Baker.
I'm trying to move us on.
I'm like Troy Baker. I can do it.
Go ahead.
That's info@SheaHatesEverything.com.
I would slow that down a little bit, and I would want it a little bit deeper in your register. But again, these are notes. We'll deal with this.
Okay, no. I can do it. That's info@SheaHatesEverything.com.
We got it.
Nailed it.
Got it in 3.
Woo!
As the saying goes. Got it in 3.
One take Tony. That shouldn't be his name.
Okay. Let's talk about December video game releases. On December 3rd, Anton Blast comes to PC.
I forgot about that.
This is where shouting out for fans of Pizza Tower.
Right.
This has very similar energy. It's a really over-the-top animated, very like harsh animation style 2D side-scroller. It looks ridiculous and very fun. I have not played Pizza Tower, but I've heard really good things. This is another one of those. On December 5th is Fantasian Neo Dimension, which, Kyle, I will let you describe.
Yeah, so this was a game that has been, up to this point, exclusive on Apple Arcade, and it's from one of the original creators, designers of Final Fantasy, and so it's very much like a Square RPG, but it was on mobile platforms. They're now bringing it to other platforms, so you don't have to mess with Apple's shitty, closed-off ecosystem. I've heard very good things about it.
I've watched a couple trailers of this and was not super impressed.
It's more art style wise. It's more like a Crystal Chronicles kind of chibi art kind of a deal. But ostensibly it's like a full turn based RPG story, like a deeper experience that they were just selling on Apple Arcade.
All right. Also on the 5th is Path of Exile 2 coming to early access. People are excited about Path of Exile 2, especially people that are mad about Diablo 4.
Right, yeah.
On the 9th is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is the final big Microsoft game. It's not launching day and date on PS5. It's coming in the spring, I believe, to PS5, but it'll be December 9th. This is coming to Game Pass day 1.
This is made by Machine Games. All of those fantastic fucking Wolfenstein games that I have greatly enjoyed over the past several years.
Well, did you play Youngblood?
I did. I
heard that one was not so good.
It was an interesting experiment. I do not think it was all that great. Like, all the character stuff was still good in it. Like, all that was great. And the gameplay was still great. But it was just, like, mechanically, the co-op stuff was not super interesting. They tried something.
Yeah, I went back and finally finished the first Wolfenstein last year.
Yeah.
I had fallen off of it when it came out because it was, like, just, like, too old school for me. I just wasn't vibing with it. So this time I played it, and I think eventually I just put it on easy and just rolled through it because I wanted to see the crazy stuff. Yeah, that's fair. And it was worth it, but I don't know. I was not blown away.
Yeah, I don't know that it holds up as well. Like, so New Colossus, I think, still holds up super well and is tremendous.
Yeah, I should say from a gameplay perspective, I was not blown away. The story and the characters, all that stuff is awesome. Yeah. It's super fun. The gameplay, I thought, it was just too basic. And, I think it came out in 2013, so it's an old game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I think this looks bad. I think this looks bad.
Really? So I've been watching a lot more of the pre-release stuff that they've been doing, even though I told myself I wasn't gonna. I have been. I think it actually, like, the more I see of it, I had this weird arc with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle where it was like, oh, that's interesting. Machine games. Yeah, okay. I could be interested in that. I could see that. And then the more I saw of it, I was like, okay. I mean, I guess I'll play it because it's a machine games game, but I'm not, that doesn't look all that fun. And now I'm having this arc back up where the more I see of it, I'm like, okay, actually, yes, I am into this.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wish I was there. I think the Indiana Jones stuff, the Troy Baker stuff, and like the cutscene stuff looks
all
awesome.
Great, yeah.
The vibes are there. It's just like the gameplay, I think, looks extremely boring and uninteresting and bad. I think it looks really bad. But it's on Game Pass. So what are you going to do? On the 10th is Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver Remastered. This is on my pile of shame. I've never played the Legacy of Kain games.
Neither.
What was the original one? Blood Omen. The first two? Yeah, I've not played any of those.
Yeah.
This is pretty high on my list of things I want to check out. It'll be, in 2025, but I definitely would love to check it out. I have heard from many folks that are lovers of Legacy of Kain that they don't think it will have aged well from a gameplay perspective, and I don't think they did much work to the gameplay of this game. Maybe some camera stuff has been improved, so I kind of want to see where this comes down on reviews before I commit to it, but it's definitely on my list. Also on the 10th is Power Rangers Rita's Rewind.
This looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so like if you played the TMNT Shredder's Revenge, sort of very retro, it's a new game, but it's very retro in its style. It's that old school Power Rangers game, side-scrolling beat 'em up. Looks like a really good time. Yeah. And then on December 12th, it's the Spirit of the Samurai. I added this one. I don't know if this game's going to be good, but it looks so fucking cool. So it is a side-scrolling action game, and it is stop motion. And the creature designs are all for folks that checked out Kunitsugami, it's very much like that. It's a lot of weird body horror, Japanese style, mythology stuff in it, but it's all couched in this semi black and white sepia tone stop motion animation. It just has a really awesome look to it. No idea if it'll actually be good. It reminds me of Trek to Yomi, which was different visually but a similar style of game. And Trek to Yomi, I thought, looked so fucking cool. It had that Kurosawa aesthetic to it, black and white, lots of shadows, lots of forced perspective. The gameplay in that game was so bad. It was so unfun, and it totally ruined the experience. So I'm hoping that Spirit of the Samurai does not fail in the same way. But this game, it literally looks really, really cool and unique.
It's really interesting. I haven't seen a game that looks quite like this.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally on the 16th is On Your Tail, which Kyle, you've mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah, it was going to come out in November, so that's if people are remembering in the episode of November, it was supposed to come out then. It got pushed to December, so I think the final release date is December 16th here in just a couple of weeks. So that's that small Italian coastal town vibes, but full of furries. It's like a detective narrative kind of a game. Seems like kind of a sweet little experience. That's probably more cute than deep, but that's fine.
Yeah. And that's December. Not a ton of big stuff, which isn't surprising.
There's a couple interesting things in there, though.
But yeah, totally.
For a December, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Usually there's not even that much stuff.
Yeah. So for our game club, we mentioned we're both playing Veilguard, so we'll continue to play that, but we wanted to pick something from December, and it's on Game Pass, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Hell yeah.
So we're doing it. We'll know we'll know. And I am going to like prioritize specific days the week it comes out because we are recording our 2024 Games That Suck podcast the weekend after Indiana Jones comes out.
I don't think this is going to be on there.
It might not. I am not anticipating it being. I'm not going to like. I'm going in with an open mind, right?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I check it out because if it is bad, I want to make sure I can speak to it on that podcast.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So if you have Game Pass, play Indiana Jones and the Great Circle with us, and you can send us your thoughts, info@shadeseverything.com, and we'll talk about it alongside our thoughts on the January episode.
That's info@SheaHatesEverything.com.
We might also talk about our thoughts in a couple of weeks on the Games That Suck from 2024 podcast. We'll just have to wait and see. You'll have to listen to it to find out. That's it. That's the podcast. Boom. It's twice as long as we intended it to be, almost exactly. And in a normal month, if our podcast was twice as long as we wanted it to be, that would be extremely bad.
Yeah, that's an Aaron-sized podcast.
2 hours.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, an Aaron-sized podcast. Schedule for the rest of the year. Let me pull up my calendar one more time because I gotta market this as much as I can. Monday, January 16th, Games That Suck from 2024. Our bottom 3. January 6th, Monday, will be our normal episode of the flagship podcast where we will do our like best superlatives. So like our favorite characters, our favorite writing in games, the best looking games. We're just going to talk about all the cool stuff we played in 2024. And then on Monday, January 20th, will be our actual formal like top 5 collective list of the best games of 2024. So check out all of those podcasts and more. If you want more, you can go to shadeseverything.com for the show notes. You can go to the Shadeseverything YouTube channel where we will be posting our Pokemon 151 tier list. Like I said, dude, so much shit. The last thing I have to say before we wrap up, maybe this could have been like Today I Hate, but very sad news. I have to announce the passing of Samsung Podcast. So I'm so sorry to end this on a down note. I should have found a better spot to put this, but I have to comment on it.
The pipes are calling.
Our one listener that was listening via Samsung Podcasts probably isn't even hearing this episode because it's over.
They don't know.
It's done.
They don't know where to find their podcasts now.
Yeah.
They're gone.
But you, other listeners, you could find this anywhere else. We always say like you could find this anywhere you listen to your podcasts, and that still is true because you can no longer find this podcasts on Samsung Podcasts, but you can't find any other podcasts on there either. Because it doesn't exist. But yeah, I'll say that today, my name is Shea, and I don't hate all the great content we have planned that I just talked about. It's exciting. We're doing cool stuff. End of the year is stressful because there's lots of games to play, but it's also fun because we get to talk about all the awesome games that we play.
It's going to be a good time. And today, I don't hate high school lunches. My buddy Cody's coming down to spend a weekend here in a couple weeks, and we have decided to recreate our favorite high school lunches, which are Bosco breadsticks with the awesome melted cheddar cheese and Otis Spunkmeyer chocolate chip cookies.
Spunkmeyer?
Yes, Otis Spunkmeyer is the name of a brand of food, which is a bummer, but the cookies are bomb. And so we found the distributor that our high school used to order the food from. So we've bought like bulk Bosco sticks, bulk cheese, and bulk Otis Spunkmeyer cookies. And then I went on Amazon and found those like glossy white lined paper trays that they would give them to us in. And then also the little plastic cups that the cheese would be in. And so we're gonna like hit the Boscos hard while he's here in town. And you know what? Cody and Aaron, who both wrote in, you both know what I'm talking about because Aaron went to my high school too. So also Connor, who regularly writes in, knows exactly what I'm talking about. This fucking Boscos and cookies, we're banging. So we're going to munch on those while Cody's in town. And that's what I don't hate today.
See my earlier comment about you guys needing to have some fucking kids. Because like look, that's adorable. That's very creative and very fun. You You have too much disposable income. If you're going out and buying bulk Bosco breadsticks.
Dude, the cheese has a shelf life of like 400 days unrefrigerated. Incredible. Science is amazing.
That is some stinky cheese. And on that note, we will see you in a couple of weeks. Peace out.